Good morning, students. Let us start with the next chapter, that is respiration in organisms. You all have studied about breathing and respiration in your previous classes, and till now you all must have thought that both the process are the same. But let me tell you that there is a great difference between breathing and respiration. What is breathing? Breathing is simply taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. Okay, that is called as breathing. And when you take in air which is rich in oxygen, that is called as inhalation. And when you give out air which is rich in carbon dioxide, that is called as exhalation. So, in breathing, what is involved? Breathing is involved with inhalation of oxygen and exhalation of carbon dioxide. Okay? Inhalation means to take in. That is inhalation. And exhalation. Exhalation means giving out. Exit. Okay? Carbon dioxide is moving out of the body. So that is exhalation. Clear? So breathing is inhalation and exhalation of air. That is breathing. And the number of times a person breathes in a minute is called as the breathing rate. Okay, how many times we breathe in 1 minute, that is called as the breathing rate. The average breathing rate of human beings at rest is 15 to 18 times per minute. Okay, that means when you are sitting at home or when you are not doing anything, sitting simply idle, doing without any work, the average breathing rate is 15 to 18 times per minute. But whenever you do any physical work or when you are doing any heavy exercise or you are dancing, what happens at that time? Your breathing rate increases to 25 times per minute. Okay, so that is called as breathing rate. So what is breathing rate? Breathing rate means the number of times a person breathes in 1 minute. That is called as breathing rate. Okay, so as I told you, breathing is simply taking in of oxygen and giving out of carbon dioxide. And children, let me tell you that this is a continuous process. Okay, this keeps on, it goes on all the time and throughout the lifetime of an organism. It is a continuous process. Okay, so this is breathing. Now, in the beginning of the chapter, as I told you, there is a big difference between breathing and respiration. Now, we will see what is respiration. Okay, now respiration means, first before respiration, you all have, let me tell you about cells. If you remember, you have studied in the second chapter about cell. Okay, what does the cell do? Cell performs all the functions of an organism, whether it is nutrition, whether it is transportation, whether it is excretion, reproduction, all these functions are performed by a cell. Okay, and how does the cell perform these functions? The cell can perform these functions only if it gets energy. Okay, and if there is energy only, then only the cell can do any function. And from where does this energy come from? The energy comes from the food that you eat. Okay, that is why you all have seen that your parents insist you that you should eat food regularly. Why do your parents insist you to take food regularly? This is the reason, because you need energy. Okay, and this food has stored energy inside it, and this is released during respiration. Okay, so all living organisms respire to get energy from food. Okay, so that means whatever food we are eating, it is used for getting energy. Okay, and what happens, just now I told you, when you are taking in oxygen during breathing, what are you doing? You are taking in oxygen. Okay, now this oxygen goes to each and every cell of the body. Okay, this oxygen reaches each and every cell of the body, and when this oxygen reaches to each and every cell of the body, this oxygen helps in the breakdown of food. Okay, it helps in the breakdown of food, and this breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy is called cellular respiration. Okay, what is it? Cellular respiration is the process of breakdown of food in the cell with the release of energy. So that is called as respiration. So you see, children, there is a big difference. Breathing means simply taking in oxygen and giving out carbon dioxide. But respiration means the food that we eat, it is broken down in the cell. Okay, and who breaks it? It is with the oxygen that you are taking in. With this oxygen, it breaks down, it goes to each and every cell of the body, it breaks down the food with the release of energy. That is called as cellular respiration. So we have got equation for this to represent this. Okay, cellular respiration, and this is, now you see what happens in this. It is glucose, that is the food that we eat. Okay, the food that we are eating is in the form of glucose. Okay, the food that we are eating, it is in the form of glucose. So glucose in the presence of oxygen, okay, is broken down into what is released? Carbon dioxide. You all have just now I told you, when you are exhaling, okay, you are giving out carbon dioxide. Along with carbon dioxide, water is released. How water is released? Water is released in the form of water vapor. You all must have seen when you open your mouth. Okay, you open your mouth and you breathe through your mouth. Okay, go and stand in front of a mirror, open your mouth and breathe through your mouth. That means you exhale. Okay, when you exhale on the mirror, you will see water vapor. So glucose in the presence of oxygen is broken down to give out carbon dioxide, water and energy. Water is in the form of water vapor. This kind of respiration is called as aerobic respiration. Okay, this is called as aerobic respiration. Aerobic respiration means in the presence of oxygen. Okay, now food can also be broken down in the absence of oxygen, and this is called as anaerobic respiration. In aerobic respiration, the food is broken down in the presence of oxygen, and in anaerobic respiration, the food is broken down in the in the absence of oxygen. Okay, so what is the equation for that? The equation is glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen, and it releases alcohol, carbon dioxide and energy. Okay, this procedure is usually seen, that is the anaerobic respiration is usually seen in yeast. Okay, so yeast can do anaerobic respiration. That means they do not need oxygen. Okay, we all need oxygen for respiration, aerobic respiration, but yeast, they do respiration, that is they do anaerobic respiration. Okay, what is yeast? Yeast is a single-celled organism. Okay, yeast is a single-celled organism. Single-celled organism, you have studied in chapter 2, children. Okay, just like amoeba. Amoeba also, one single cell was doing all the functions. In yeast also, it is a single-celled organism. That means one single cell performs all the function. And yeast respire anaerobically, and when they respire anaerobically, what do they give? They give out alcohol. Okay, that is why yeast is used to make wine and beer. Okay, yeast is used to make wine and beer, and yeast is used in alcohol industry. Why? Because yeast respires in the absence of oxygen to give out alcohol. So that is why yeast is used in alcohol industry to make wine and beer. Now, sometimes I told you, children, that usually 90% of the time we all respire, we do aerobic respiration, that is in the presence of oxygen. But what happens sometimes, okay, our muscle cells respire anaerobically. Okay, and when do our muscle cells respire anaerobically? When there is a deficiency of oxygen. Anaerobic respiration means absence of oxygen, I had told you. Okay, So our muscles also respire anaerobically when there is a deficiency of oxygen in the body. Okay, now what happens, and this is a temporary deficiency of oxygen, especially, okay, when does it happen? It happens when you are doing heavy exercises like running, fast running, cycling, if you are doing walking for many hours. Okay, what happened? Your demand for energy is very high, but the oxygen is very, very low. Okay, supply of oxygen to produce the energy is very low. So at that time, our muscles starts respiring anaerobically. Okay, that means the food, okay, glucose is broken down in the absence of oxygen to produce lactic acid and energy. Okay, it is lactic acid. Now children, that is the reason. It is because of this lactic acid, you all must have noticed that whenever you do any vigorous exercise, you get muscle cramps. Do you know what are muscle cramps? Muscle cramps means after running, if you are going for a race, or if you are doing dancing, you must have often noticed that there are cramps in your muscles. What are muscle cramps? Muscle cramps means जो muscles में जो बहुत तेज दर्द करता है running के बाद या dancing के बाद. Okay, so why is a muscle cramp? It is because your muscle cells are respiring anaerobically. Okay, the glucose is not broken down completely. Glucose is broken down only partially. And what is it producing? It is producing lactic acid. Okay, so what is happening? The partial breakdown of glucose which is producing lactic acid. So the lactic acid gets accumulated in your muscle cells, causing the cramps in the muscles. Okay, thighs and muscles, it starts paining. That is called as cramp. And how can you get a relief? Relief you get when you go and take a hot water bath, or if you massage. Okay, you must have seen while you are running a race, if your muscles are cramps, what do your PT sir come and do? The PT sir, he comes and massages your muscle. So what happens when you massage your muscles or when you take a hot water bath? The circulation of blood improves. Okay, the blood starts circulating properly, and when the circulation of blood improves, the supply of oxygen increases. Okay, the supply of oxygen increases, and the oxygen goes to each and every cell properly, and it completely breaks down lactic acid into carbon dioxide and water. So again at this time, so that is why you get relief when you take a hot water bath or a massage. Okay, so children, you see, this is the difference between respiration and breathing. Okay, so this is totally new chapter, children. Okay, please read the chapter properly and try to understand what all I have taught you. And if you have any doubt or any queries, you can contact me on my personal WhatsApp number.